Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling.
It is the dog days of summer. But if you're in New York City, it is a cursed summer, and everybody in WWE is telling you to be uncursed by joining them for this Saturday night's main event, Madison Square Garden. It's Juice, it's Josh Isenberg, and we are here for this four-match unique SNME at MSG OMG. Josh, how you doing, brother?
I am doing wonderful, Juice. It is the dog days of summer. It is smoking hot, literally outside.
It is literally smoke outside.
Yes, literally. So I'm excited to talk some Saturday night's main event. That's going to be taking place on Saturday at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. It's been a little while since you've been on, but life gets in the way. We all have our real life activities outside of pro wrestling, as hard as that may seem to most people that are listening to this show. But it's great to have you on and talking a Saturday night's main event. You know, normally we do these, but we also, of course, do PLEs. And we're 2 weeks out from SummerSlam emanating from Minneapolis. And as that card is shaping up, this is a little stopgap where you get some intrigue of what's going to happen at SummerSlam in regards to the main event featuring, Punk and Cody. Mm-hmm. But some other matches that I don't think, some of the wrestlers that are on this show for Saturday night are going to show up at SummerSlam. So just as a quick aside, with this Saturday night's main event, although it is at MSG, the Mecca, as you said, this almost seems like, this might be the wrestlers that aren't going to get featured at our big summer event later on. Again, just 2 weeks away. So as a whole, how do you see this show play out? And are you kind of in agreement? Because what we've heard is 14 matches maybe for SummerSlam. You'd think maybe some of these guys and girls aren't going to be on there.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because if they have 14 matches, scattered over 2 nights, 7 matches, 3 hours, I think that's pretty similar to what we saw at WrestleMania. Realistically, the only one that I could see potentially being put on SummerSlam, if it's a rematch, would be Lyra and Bayley. That's a feud right now that I think has really garnered a lot of attention. And I love the heel turn. I think that's been well needed in this story with these groups of ladies that, they're kind of tag teams, they're kind of thrown together, but you're not really getting too much, from them. Case in point, Lyra and Bayley. But, obviously Danhausen will have an effect at SummerSlam. I don't really think that he's going to have a match at SummerSlam. But then also Gunther and Sami Zayn, they're going to be on the card somewhere. We just don't know where it's going to be. So that tag team match is going to be a setting up of what maybe a Gunther-Sami rematch, but also at the same time, both of them are heels. So, and then also with the Nick Aldis, wild card there. So yes, I think a handful of these people will not be on the SummerSlam card, but those main players will find a way to get there in Minneapolis.
I tend to agree. I think, maybe there's another Bayley Lyra match. I could actually see the tag titles for the women being defended at SummerSlam. Maybe. Sure. There is no real pre-show anymore. They just load up 2 nights of stuff and then kind of say, here you go. Danhausen for sure will have a purpose at SummerSlam. Maybe flying the blimp, doing some stuff with the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know what the hell is going to happen, but something for sure. And then we'll talk about it later on with Punk, Cody, of course, Gunther, Sami Zayn. Gunther will probably have a match. Sami Zayn should definitely have some sort of representation. We'll talk about that later on. Before we dive into this card, though, 4 matches, the Saturday night's main event special from Triple H. This is the 45th edition of Saturday night's main event, which is pretty insane. The first one since August of 2007 to take place at the Garden, which was the 35th edition of Saturday night's main event. Now, let me run this card down for you because, good Lord, this thing sucked. First of all, it was taped on August 13th and aired on August 18th. So automatically, it's not as exciting. And the matches show it. We have Batista and Kane defeating Finlay and the Great Khali.
Wow.
And unfortunately, that was the longest match of the four, which is insane. We then had John Cena defeating Carlito by submission in 5 minutes. The boxing match of Evander Holyfield and Matt Hardy ended in a no contest.
Wow.
And then, which is kind of interesting. I liked the Matt Hardy MVP stuff that was kind of around this time, but the Evander Holyfield thing, I don't know, man. That kind of seems out of left field, if you catch my drift.
I do.
He's got a hell of a body, doesn't he?
What does that mean? How do I know? How would I know?
Well, I mean, he's a nice guy and a great fighter, but I don't like him.
I don't like him.
And then the main event, CM Punk and the Boogeyman defeated John Morrison and Big Daddy V. Unfortunately, Big Daddy V is no longer with us. John Morrison, I believe, is still rolling with AEW. Boogeyman's doing independent appearances, and CM Punk is the WWE champion. So what a wild, 19 years it's been.
Wow.
For WWE having Saturday night's main event at the Garden, but we're here now. Let's lock in. Now, it's also stated Roman Reigns is going to be at the show, and he's going to be accompanied by 2026 NBA champion Jalen Brunson, which, you knew this type of thing was going to happen once the Knicks not only got to the final, but won the whole damn thing. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Brunson had surgery recently, so I don't believe a physical interaction is going to take place, nor will I think the Knicks would want that anyway. So
he's also injured. He has that injury around his wrist, as we saw in the ESPYs this week. He has a brace on his wrist. So
yeah, the surgery. So he's not gonna be involved in anything physical. But I kind of would have thought they would have plugged into that, had he not had that injury, because the Danhausen uncursing the Knicks and everything, like, I think it all would have lined up cool. But what do you think happens with Roman and Jalen Brunson? Is it just like someone makes fun of Jalen Brunson and then Roman takes care of him, or what do you see there?
Yeah, I kind of think that's probably what'll happen. I'll be interested to see, because where's SmackDown this week? Do we know?
SmackDown? I don't know, but
I'm assuming
continue in Gallivant as I look.
Yeah, no. So the reason I was thinking that is because they didn't tape SmackDown like they did the past, in Atlantic City, and then I think they're going to do another taping in August in Cleveland. So I think it is live this week. And the reason I'm saying that is
it's in Albany, New York.
Okay, yeah. So I was kind of thinking, what happens and who was the person that really was heavily involved in the cursing from the very beginning and is actually still cursed now, which is The Miz. And The Miz is a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, and the Knicks beat the Cavaliers. So if there's a way to uncurse him, on Friday, whether he's, steps in the way of somebody or whatever the situation may be, I could easily see The Miz being this guy that comes out and, disses Jalen Brunson. Roman, does a spear, easy peasy. But other than, a random person, I don't really know what you do. Like, you don't bring Seth Rollins out and continue that feud with Roman Reigns to build up to SummerSlam, because it just doesn't make any sense to have Seth Rollins come out as a heel, try to, trash talk the Knicks or trash talk New York City, because they've done such a good job at blurring the lines of that feud going into SummerSlam. Blurring the lines to the point.
Both those guys are kind of on the up and up. It's kind of like tweeners right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, case in point, watching Raw this past week, my wife is a huge Roman Reigns fan, and she thought, wow, I kind of want Seth Rollins to win. And I thought that was surprising, because usually the casual fan will always side with, the guy that's at the top, the Romans, the Randy Ortons, the CM Punks, and, Seth has kind of always been at the top or a little tier below that. So I don't see him really doing anything at Saturday night's main event. But yeah, I think something with The Miz could be fine. And I think it really is just, hey, New York City, your boy's back home, and he's teaming with the other world champion, and it could be just that.
Yeah, I will be interested to see what transpires, but I could see something like that for sure. The Tyrese Halliburton of it all too, like that was had Indiana gotten further, maybe they could have run that back. But I mean, it really couldn't have worked out better for the Knicks and WWE having Jalen Brunson like come to the defense of people, and they made shirts for everybody, and like then they ended up going to the finals and winning it. Like
Yeah.
it really couldn't have worked out better for all parties involved. And we've been bringing them up, so let's get into it. Danhausen versus JD McDonough, Dominic Mysterio at his side. No disqualification. This is where I think you might see The Miz or
Yeah.
maybe even a Matt Cardona, dare I say, Zack Ryder involvement, which I think would pop the Madison Square Garden crowd huge if Zack Ryder comes out and interferes, helps Danhausen get the win. I have been on record saying numerous times right before and then as it started to happen, Danhausen never needed to wrestle a match for WWE to be successful. Yeah. And he hasn't needed it, but it's been fun to see him still do a match here or there and some crazy shenanigans ensue. And either way, it's not affecting the main card and it's JD McDonough. It's kind of a side character within a side segment. So I don't mind any of this stuff, and it's going to make Danhausen even more popular if that's even possible at this juncture. But yeah, I'm going to have Danhausen win this match, and I really think someone that he has already kind of cursed or had cursed in Zack Ryder makes an appearance to pop the MSG crowd. So what say you?
Yeah, I think so as well. I think Dominic will, end up trying to get involved with this. I think, Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder is a great opportunity for them to pop the crowd. This could be the first match. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to start with Danhausen and JD, have Danhausen come out. It could be under 10 minutes, give a little bit of action. JD can work. We know JD's a great wrestler. Danhausen can also wrestle. He doesn't need to, but he can still work. And then obviously, giving kind of a, salute to Survivor Series 2011 whenever Zack Ryder came out at the end of the first match, got the massive pop in Madison Square Garden. I mean, heck, he even got probably a bigger pop that night, and I was in that building for that. Probably a bigger pop that night than, John Cena and The Rock in the main event against The Miz and R-Truth. So, I think that you got to have somebody, and, I was at Backlash in Tampa. The little people, with Danhausen was funny and fun and everything, but, I think Ryder Cardona is a really good choice and a really good bet here because he has been intertwined with, Miz personally, professionally for years, and also now with Danhausen.
Yeah, I just think it really makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
Yep.
and sometimes the easiest decision, is the best one. Like you're in New York, you got a guy that's gotten kind of zapped or cursed, and you don't know what happened to him, and he's got a lot of New York ties. And
Yep.
like you said, the MSG connection, I think is just too. I mean, it's 15 years now. We look at it from Survivor Series 2011. So the more we talk about it, it's like this is a layup to talk more basketball. It's a layup to make this type of thing happen. And maybe some would say cheap pop, but cheap pop's still a good pop. So I'll take it.
Does he come out as Matt Cardona or Ryder?
Well, I think the money would be him coming out as Zack Ryder, or even introduced as Matt Cardona, but Zack Ryder comes out. Like there has to be a way that you get the pop of the. Maybe he plays O Radio. Maybe if O Radio comes on, I think that sets off everybody. They go crazy.
I'd love with the spiked hair and the headband, just throw it back 15 years. Or honestly, maybe they could do something on SmackDown, where
to lead it
Danhausen zaps him back to, 15 years ago.
Right. And then he doesn't know where he is. And then he's like, well, I guess there's only one way to go. I also would love it because Zack Ryder has always been like a toned guy, but now he's like jacked and yoked because he's older and he's got more muscle mass. And to see Zack Ryder as a jacked guy is actually like really jacked. That would be really, really funny.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking forward to that because he hasn't done that character since 2020. I mean, that's when he got fired. 2019 WrestleMania in New York, or in New Jersey rather. The last time we saw Zack Ryder proper.
Yep.
So I'd love to see it. So I like that we've kind of cultivated that. Even with a nothing quote unquote match with Danhausen and JD McDonough. So ultimately, I think Danhausen will win.
Same.
What does JD McDonough need to win a match for, honestly. So,
I agree.
yeah, so let's go to the women's tag titles. Paige and Brie Bella, still, which is pretty wild to say, taking on Fatal Influence of Laney Reed and Fallon Henley with JC Jane on the outside. I mean, not much has happened with the women's tag titles since Paige and Brie Bella, won them. Was that WrestleMania?
Yeah, at WrestleMania.
So it's been a while and not much has really transpired. But again, no, there's only so much TV to go around. There's only so much to really have happen. Nikki, of course, got replaced by Paige, and now we get a title defense. Is this where they take the titles off of Paige and Brie Bella, or do you think that they'll, like I said, maybe there's something for them at SummerSlam where is Nikki available to return? What are we doing here? Or because I was shocked that Paige, they won, and Paige isn't just going away, and this is more of a longer term thing. What say you? I'm kind of at a loss.
At a loss. I am at a loss. I think that Fatal Influence gets the championships here. And the reason being, I think that, whenever Saturday Night's Main Event kind of came back as a thing, not talking prior, 2024, whenever it really came back for a bit, there's been championship matches, and there really hasn't been a championship title change. The only championship that, again, wasn't changed, but it was the inaugural Women's United States Championship when Chelsea Green defeated Michin to be the first ever women's champion. But you look at the past couple of Saturday Night's Main Events that's happened, there's been retaining champions all over the place, whether it's, Rhea defeating Nia, Braun defeating Sheamus, Gunther defeating Jay. Like, there really hasn't been that big championship title change. I'm not saying that this is a big championship title, but it's something. And I think giving the opportunity with Fatal Influence going into SummerSlam, when they came onto the main roster, they were hot. They got, JC Jane got booed out of the building for a couple of weeks, and then it kind of subdued. Now this is a great opportunity with two very popular, very favorite legends, and I say legends lightly because they're not old by any stretch of the imagination, but they've been around for so long. You get Fatal Influence to tag team championships. You can set up, like you were mentioning, maybe a potential match at SummerSlam for them for the women's championships. I wouldn't hate Paige going on her own. If Nikki Bella is back, Paige can do something, whether she challenges for the United States Championship, whether she gets involved in something else. I will say I think Paige and Brie have done a really good job at this random tag team put together. They've put on some pretty good tag team championship matches over the past 4 months. So I'm happy to see that both of them are kind of elevating a lot of the other tag teams, albeit them winning. So I think Fatal Influence is the right call here. So I'm going to give the victory to Fatal Influence, new women's tag team champions, a little bit of a youth movement moving into SummerSlam, and then whoever their challengers could potentially be remains to be seen if they defend those in Minnesota.
Right, and I think I'm going to lean that way as well. I think Fatal Influence will win the titles, have a little moment in MSG, something that, it's younger talent getting a huge moment in the arguably the biggest building for WWE, at least by namesake. And then, maybe a multi-team match at SummerSlam, if that's something that they want to travel towards. So I think there's a lot there. I am just curious as to what would happen next with Paige and Brie if they lose. I mean, do we know when Nikki's coming back or no? We have no idea.
No, I don't think so. But it seems like she's ready to go. From like all the videos we've seen, I don't think she's wearing any sort of, brace or anything, but, they obviously wanted the Bellas to be at WrestleMania. I think the Bellas would elevate the tag team division. No, nothing against Paige, but nothing against Paige and Brie together. But the ideal tag team are the Bellas, and Paige was there because she was coming back. They needed somebody. Great shock moment at WrestleMania. And I'm a big Paige fan. I think Paige, younger than a lot of the women on the roster, really. Like, even though she was gone for so long, she came in at such a young age where she's still in the prime of her career, and she got her career back from injury. So I do think there's more for Paige to be a single star. I do think, if her and Brie, they don't have to have somebody turn on one another. They just were like, hey, Nikki's back. Thank you. And that's it.
Right. And I think that, it kind of fell into their hands that, hey, we got Paige, we can still make this a great moment at
Yep.
WrestleMania, even if we can't get the Bellas. So
Yep.
I do think that they'd still prefer to have the Bellas as tag champs at some point. So maybe
Definitely.
that's
Yeah.
something they can still roll with as we move forward. Let's move forward to Bailey versus Lyra Valkyria as a new look to Lyra. You could say she looks as if she was cursed by Danhausen. She looks like she hasn't slept in quite a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe since the last time MSG hosted Saturday Night's Main Event. But this is a grudge match, pretty much, I guess you could call it.
Mhm.
And I do dig the heel turn. I love the full character like change. Like this is what I'd like. You are a big proponent of, you know, gear to match or
Yep.
certain tag teams having similar gear or certain great gear for a specific event.
Yeah.
I think it also goes a long way whenever a character changes. You know, we talked about Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona. When Zack Ryder had like the half pants, I always thought was a unique. That's a
Yeah.
unique thing, that made him unique and stand out and be different. And
Sure.
you go through all these different incarnations of talent. I mean, CM Punk, when he went to AEW, he had like the long tights, which was bizarre, but I liked it. It showed that he was in a new way. Now he's back to the tights. You had AJ Styles kind of doing the same thing for one night only against John Cena last year. So Lyra looking deader than dead. It's very cool to see, and I love the commitment to the bit. And that's all we want is commitment and really, you know, prove that you want to be in this and you want to show that your character means something to you and you're not just gonna, okay, well, it is what it is, I'm a heel and now I'm just gonna do heel things. I like when the character goes all the way. So
Yeah.
that being said, I think it almost means that Lyra is gonna get the win here, whether that means she's gonna get another match maybe for a title down the line, if this is going to jettison her to another stratosphere of that, I don't know. But I would say Lyra's going to get the win here. My bigger question is, what does that mean for Bailey if she loses this match?
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good question. I go back to like Lyra Valkyria in 2025, where she had this similar storyline with Becky Lynch, right? Like you're friends, you know, she looked up to Becky Lynch, and then at SummerSlam last year they had their kind of last match. Um, Man, this is a tough one for me because as much as I think the idea of Lyra winning makes sense, I just there's been so many times where Bailey has just not won. And I don't know Bailey's contract status. I don't know what's going to happen with Bailey. So if Bailey is potentially on her way out of WWE, obviously Lyra picks up the win. I just don't know if I believe that. So for me, I would love a Bailey quick win, upset, whatever you call it. And then after the match, just Lyra just beat the crap out of her again. So you have another stipulation, at SummerSlam with these two. Because if you're having 7 matches on SummerSlam night 1 and 7 on night 2, you're going to have the women's championship. You're going to have, we don't know what's going to happen with Rhea Ripley, but you have Liv Morgan and Io Sky. And then you really don't know what Sol Ruka is going to do. You don't really know what Tiffany Stratton's going to do. You don't really know what the women's tag team championships are going to do. I'd assume Charlotte and Jade will probably be at SummerSlam, which I've been waiting to see for really ever since Jade stepped into WWE. I think one of the first times Jade came in, she was face to face with Charlotte Flair. So that's a good
Yeah.
opportunity for her in, Charlotte to have a high profile females match with no championships on the line. We don't see them often, but we see them every once in a while. The last time really was Naomi and Jade at WrestleMania, where there was like really no championship on the line in a major PLE, not necessarily a Saturday Night's Main Event. I'm gonna go with Bailey on this one because I do think there's more to the story of Bailey wins. Lyra can kind of dip into an even more psychotic mental state where she causes another 2 weeks of hell to Bailey to force Bailey to have another match with her at SummerSlam, because I think both of these women need to have a match at SummerSlam to really take the storyline and take their characters just to the next level. And I think If Lyra wins, then that's it for Bayley. Like, I don't know what you do with Bayley after that. She's not going to get back into another tag team. She has no say of winning a championship, but it's easier for the heel to get more heat after the match when she attacks, Bayley, than Bayley just flat out losing and that's it. So I'm going to go Bayley on this one.
Well, look, finally, we have disagreed on something.
Something.
Normally, yeah, something. It didn't take that long. Only 3
Aside
matches
from the
in.
pen being one of the worst Seinfeld episodes of all time, but, I digress.
Well, that's your opinion.
It is. That's why I said it.
So, yeah. Let's go to another opinion-based thing before we talk about the main event. I want to hear your opinion because, again, we haven't really talked about pro wrestling, at least on this program, in quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the world title scene? I guess at large, we're not. You don't have to discuss the AEW portion of it, but their world title has also changed hands a few times since the last time we talked. But
yeah.
CM Punk winning it off of Sami Zayn, who won in a triple threat against Cody and Gunther, with all like the titles just changing hands, maybe not rapidly, but more often than we've really seen in a while.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Because I want to kind of transition that into talking about the main event where Sami Zayn a couple weeks ago had a shot to walk into SummerSlam as WWE champion, and now we can't seem to figure out what he's doing there. So all of a sudden everybody's a champion or not, and it just throws things for a whirl. I want to know your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I will throw a little bit of AEW in there. I think you have to have at some point Omega and Ospreay. MJF is number one. He is a guy that no matter if he has a championship or not, and they're better with him as champion, I will admit that, but he does not need the championship for a lengthy reign like a Roman Reigns did whenever he was trying to completely transform his character. So any match with MJF to me is, I mean, heck, any match with MJF it's not on the same level, but it's a similar level to like Undertaker at WrestleMania. Like it might not be for a championship, it might not be the match that closes the show, but it's just as important in terms of can you beat this guy and can you establish yourself. And I think MJF is so fine without being a champion, even though my preference is that. But I also know that we need Omega and Ospreay. So I was happy to see that championship change, especially on Beach Break. I thought that was a great venue. It looked fantastic. I've said this for the past couple of weeks to friends, to family. Kenny Omega, honestly, is probably the best professional wrestler I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
And everything he does in the ring is so smooth. Everything he does in the ring is meticulous. He is just, every time I watch his matches, I'm just in awe of this guy who's been doing it for such a long time. And he never, I'll sum it up like this. He never really misses, right? Like he never misses a spot. He never misses a big move. If somebody else messes up, it still looks like it was correct because their dance partner is Kenny Omega. And Will Ospreay is a close second to me. So I'm excited to see that at All In. That is a quote-unquote dream match. I hate that term so much, but for me, that's a dream match that I want to see on a big stage. So I'm happy to see that. Now, going back to Sami Zayn as champion, I think we all knew. Excuse me. Ooh, I'm getting choked up over here. I think we all knew that
Sami losing the title really did a number on you.
It did, yeah, apparently, but I think Sammy's a transitional champion, which is obviously what it was to put the title on Punk. People thought Cody would just flat out win.
I was going to ask you this just to cut in.
Sure.
Because I just flat out think it's one way. I don't think there was any way that Cody Rhodes would lose the WWE title to CM Punk. Even if Punk beats Cody at SummerSlam, like retaining the title, that's like fine.
Sure.
I don't think there was ever going to be a shot of Cody being champion, losing it to CM Punk, which is why I thought Sami Zayn was that perfect transitional champion. Because it didn't hurt Gunther either. Gunther didn't win it to lose it. He was just kind of around. He's still strong. Sami was like a pawn almost.
Yeah, and Sammy's been a pawn in so many great storylines. You know,
He really has been.
I mean, it's amazing. Like the guy has 1,000 lives, and whatever situation you put him in, he elevates that story. And they had to have a payoff at some point about Sammy getting, the backstage interactions with Cody dating back to before WrestleMania. So I like that. I think also WWE knew very well that if Sammy dropped the title to Cody in Chicago, there would have been a backlash of, well, it was Cody. And although Cody is our QB1, people still kind of like Sammy, even though you're supposed to hate Sammy. So it was smart to bring the hometown guy that will never in a million years get booed in Chicago to come back and win the championship. And I also think, we'll talk about this in a couple of weeks for the SummerSlam prediction show. Right now, I can't see Punk losing at SummerSlam to Cody Rhodes.
Not yet, no, not even. I mean, I don't think. One, they even, I know they brought up the Summer of Punk, and that is just like a moniker, and they're capturing, nostalgia in a bottle again, and I get that. I also think that they really do want him to have a lengthy reign and make this impactful, because just like Kenny Omega, I would wager that the amount of time in ring for CM Punk is also less than what he's already done. Like, I think he's got a shorter amount of career left than he's already kind of put forth. Same with Kenny. So it's like, get these guys the title, get these guys the moments, these big matches, while we have them at the height of their powers, especially with a guy like Punk, who was out of wrestling for 7 years and then he goes and does a great job in AEW, like to kind of reestablish himself. Now you found him back in WWE. You want to make sure you capitalize on everything you can so that whenever he eventually retires, we didn't really miss on an opportunity that we could have had. So
yes,
I think they're kind of in lockstep there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and again, to sum up your question, I think the championship flips. Darby to MJF, MJF to Kenny. I'm fine with that. There has to be not a special talent, but a special story behind the talent, a la the Bloodline, where it makes sense to have somebody champion for over a year, for over 2 years. And I don't think there is a really in-depth, intricate storyline that warrants anybody to hold the championship for longer than, 6, 8, 10 months right now.
Right. Outside of the Bloodline extenuating circumstance of starting in COVID and it well, we really haven't found the right way to go about this yet. Oh, by the way, Cody Rhodes came back into the company. Oh, we can even make this go an extra year and have them wrestle 2 WrestleManias in a row. Like, the circumstances have to really line up, and they did. And now we're starting to see that, not hot potato, but, if it went from Darby to MJF to Kenny, and then it went from Cody to Sammy to Punk, it's just the way that it is. And, people will complain, but this happened for lesser times long time ago. I mean, Kane was a champion for a day. And Rey Mysterio was a champion for 2 hours. Things happen. You want to get from point A to point B, but sometimes you have to make a deviation. Sometimes you have to make a decision. And in pro wrestling, if you're an MJF or if you're a Sami Zayn, you know that at least you're getting the spot, or you're going to have many more main events at All In, or Sammy, you've done it already. Now you got your moment. You had your big moment. Maybe there's another one. Maybe there's not, but at least you got one. Here's another one for Sammy. He gets to tag with good friend that he had plenty of wars with, Gunther, to take on CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. I mean, I had put out there that, ahead of this being announced, how cool would it be for it to be Punk and Cody taking on Roman and Seth as your 2 main event matches at SummerSlam, outside of Oba and Brock, of course, for the world titles, teaming up, where Punk and Cody clearly have a lot of history, dating back a long time, and they were both in AEW, and now they're back, and they have this match, taking on Seth and Roman, who clearly have history, were a part of one of the biggest teams ever with the Shield. How cool would that have been to settle that at like a house show normally, but now it's Saturday night's main event at Madison Square Garden? We don't get that, but we get half that, and I'll take it, considering everybody that's involved. Punk and Cody is an awesome team. I very much am curious as to, as we said, the gear. Like, are they going to try to match up some stuff? Are they going to try to be a unit for one night? I don't think Gunther and Sammy will, although that would be fun too. But I like the team of Punk and Cody. Like these two guys, especially just having the main event at all at SummerSlam is really cool. Like these two guys have such a long, unique history together. And did they rest? I don't think they wrestled in AEW, did they? Did they cross paths at all?
I don't think so.
Punk
Whenever
got there right at middle of 21, like in August of 21, and Cody left shortly after because he debuts at that next Mania.
Yeah, and Cody's last match was January of the following year in Cleveland against Sammy Guevara. So this is interesting to me, and I really like the dynamic of Punk and Cody. And this is just an honest question to you.
Sure.
You mentioned all the history that they've had. Have they really had a lot of history? In terms of in WWE's eyes, at least. We know the whole AEW stuff. They're not going to really talk about that. But when I go back to think about Punk's reign in WWE before leaving, I mean Cody was kind of just coming up. Right.
And then of course he was Stardust after Punk had kind of left.
Yeah. So where's the real history between the two in the eyes? And again, not necessarily like you were mentioning as well, they didn't have history in AEW, but they were both there and they both came back, right? They both were, for lack of a better term, in a way disgruntled or whatever the situation may be with Cody. Right. We know what Punk's is. But I can't remember real history between the two, especially when you try to compare it to Roman and Seth. I mean, there's every bit of history there. Yeah, I don't recall them really doing much with each other in WWE.
Right. Now, I will say this. I mean, when Punk came back, it was after War Games where Cody and his team had won. And I think that just as top guys that are friendly together, it's the relationship I think Cody and Jey Uso have, but without Punk being a part of something bigger like the Bloodline, where Jey can always be, he's friends with Cody, but he's really going to be always friends with Jimmy and Roman and all those guys in the Bloodline because it's family. Yeah. Punk doesn't necessarily have that anywhere. He's always just been his own guy, and Cody has been there kind of in lockstep as just, he's QB1, but Punk is probably wide receiver 1. He's on the team as one of the top guys, and he's always going to be kind of looked at as an ally. And I think Punk's history with Roman, I think, would probably give credence to Cody liking him a little bit.
And Punk's history with Seth. And Cody's and Seth.
Yeah. Punk hates Seth. Cody has had wars with Seth.
Yeah.
So it's certain enemies we all hate. And Punk doesn't like Roman. Cody doesn't like Roman. So I think they're two sides of the same coin, which is why I can't wait to talk about that for SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Will there be a heel turn? Will both guys just kind of be on the straight and narrow for that match? Or at least in the match, will someone kind of get that edge of, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win, even if I'm not necessarily turning heel? Sure. I just like the dynamics between both these guys. Top dogs as baby faces in WWE, but now Punk as champion, Cody as his tag team partner as the challenger. I've always said Cody is a better chase than champion. Yeah. So we get a little taste of that, and I think we'll get a little longer as long as Cody doesn't win at SummerSlam. You were going to say something?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I agree with the fact that you said Cody's better as a chaser than a champion. That speaks for the majority of faces, though. Right? Aside from the Stone Colds or the Rocks or whoever, they're typically better as a character when they're chasing something. Cody is champion, people had this exhaustion of Cody or whatever you want to call it. I never really had that with Cody, but as him not being champion, he kind of, again, I was talking about MJF not really needing a championship to be in a very high profile match. That's kind of how Cody is now because of all he's done since he's been back in WWE. Multiple main events at WrestleMania, over a year championship reign, won the championship, three-time champion, I think, three-time champion. So he's had that, path that's been carved out. And I'll be honest, I give kudos to WWE, to Triple H for, as much as Cody could be a guy for 2 years as a world champion. I mean, he got in some boos, but really the boos were because he was facing Roman, or the boos because he was facing Punk, or not facing Punk, but, talking with Punk in the ring. Like, there hasn't been a lot of people that you wanted to see Cody lose to. And again, kudos to them for kind of protecting that face of Cody Rhodes. But now, what's next for Cody? And I think, like you said, we'll talk about this in a couple of weeks. This match also at Saturday night's main event is interesting to me because I do think it's going to be Cody and Punk at SummerSlam. I don't think they're going to add another in, because I do think we see Gunther and Nick Aldis. And again, I don't know what you do with Sammy, but I do not want a triple threat with Sammy involved once again, because we just saw that at Night of Champions. I think the faces win this tag team match. I think Sammy eats the pin, but you got to have something, especially since this will likely be the main event. You have to have something that'll get people talking for the next 2 weeks going into SummerSlam. Is that Nick Aldis? Is that something that revolves around Gunther? Is there some sort of maybe miscommunication between Punk and Cody where they can potentially lose? Like, there's a lot of layers where you can go about this, but I just can't see Punk and Cody both losing a tag team match, even if there's shenanigans involved, 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks, whatever it is, before SummerSlam.
Well, and I agree with that, but I also, I could see Punk and Cody losing to where, wow, man, they can't coexist, and someone let someone else down and there's a vulnerability. But at the same time, that would mean that Gunther and Sami Zayn win, and what does Gunther get? Well, yeah, what does Gunther get? A match to take on Nick Aldis because he did that? They're gonna want to. They're in Sammy too. They're going to be like, well, I want to be in the match, and it's going to be a fatal 4-way, and I don't really want that. Cody and Punk is a great match, so I do think Punk and Cody win. I think there's an outside shot we get Randy Orton. And if that's what Sami Zayn does, then as shoehorned as it could sound, I think at least getting Orton back into the fold is better than not having him at all.
True.
And we don't know the status of Kevin Owens. That's the other thing. I don't know if he's ready to wrestle, capable to wrestle, waiting. I don't know. Otherwise, that this is his spot. He could just come in and he has beef with everybody and just get right back into it with Sammy. But
then if Randy comes back real quick, or KO comes back, KO and Sammy obviously would be the ideal thing. If Randy comes back, what is his role at SummerSlam?
If Randy comes back and takes out Sammy, then I could see it being Randy and Sammy at SummerSlam, just straight up, because Gunther's got Nick Aldis and then the world title main event with Punk and Cody. But
why would he take out Sammy though? Because last time we saw Randy beat the crap out of Cody, and then also Randy was the one to Sammy that said you need to listen to the voices in your head, and that's really a turning point of Sammy trying to be more of a tweener, now more of a heel.
Right. So what I would say to that is Orton. He could give the reasoning later. He's not going to interfere in the match, get on the mic and say, you've disappointed me. I'm going to RKO you. It's supposed to be out of nowhere. So I think he takes out Sammy, and then maybe he reveals I was disappointed. I told you to listen to everything, listen to those voices. You won the title, and then you lost it. And if they have that match and Orton gets the victory, hey, now Punk's on SmackDown. I'd take CM Punk and Randy Orton at their advanced ages. I would absolutely take that. What would that be? September. They could do Sunday night's main event that they're going to do. That's coming up.
Money in the Bank in October in New Orleans.
Money in the Bank could be something. So there's definitely some room for, I think, a Punk, because you want to look ahead. And I think, once we get to Money in the Bank, all bets are off. And it's well, whoever's got the briefcase could take it from Punk. I'm whatever. But if it's, in between then, you got to figure out who's going to take on Punk if he's champion. And I can see that being Randy Orton, just because it's a rather fresh idea. And how cool would it be to see that match, 15 years after their WrestleMania 27 match?
Yeah, WrestleMania 27 in Atlanta.
In Atlanta, where Sunday night's main event is going to take place in September. Come on, give it to me.
Look at this.
Give it to me. So that's just spitballing here in the juice box. But I'm looking forward to the tag match. There's just interesting dynamics across the board, and ultimately, yeah, I think Punk and Cody can get the win. Be a good moment, and I think the most likely thing to happen would be Nick Aldis interfering, pissing off Gunther, and just setting that up like immediately, where people are buzzing like, oh my god. Maybe Nick Aldis like rips his shirt off or something, and you see he's like joked, because that's the other thing. We have not seen him in like ring shape. He could very well be in ring shape, but we never see him without his shirt off. Yep. So like that reveal is going to be like, oh boy, well.
I saved that for SummerSlam, by the way.
Probably. So Nick Aldis comes out in his suit and beats up Gunther.
Well, also real quick, the one thing I could see happening is Gunther trying to cheat. Gunther trying to cheat in the tag team match, and then obviously, Nick Aldis comes out and like stops him from using a chair, stops him from using whatever, and there's that interaction again. So a lot of options in a 4-card Saturday Night's Main Event, which makes it fun to talk about.
Absolutely, and I think Nick Aldis revealing, not himself, but
that's for Mickey James juice.
That's right. But him taking his like suit, I think that'd be perfect. Remember when Vince did that?
Yes.
And you're like, what the hell?
That was under that suit for all those years.
We know he's probably in good shape, but this is absurd. So to see Nick Aldis do that at SummerSlam, just like taking his suit off, would be hilarious. And just being jacked to the gills.
Would love it.
So as you said, man, 4-match card, yet I'm pretty intrigued, at least by the beginning and ending, if it is that Danhausen, we could get Zack Ryder, the Punk Cody of it all, and specifically with the Bellas, maybe, having something to do with, them not actually being champions, and, what does that look like? Do we get new tag champions because Paige is involved? I'm not saying she's doing a bad job, but maybe they can run a story. Maybe Nikki's fed up. Who knows what that is, because maybe they could lead to a singles match at SummerSlam. I could see that. And then the Lyra Valkyria, character development, I think, is very intriguing. So across this whole thing, I'm looking forward to it. Josh, any parting words before we head off here for this Saturday Night's Main Event at MSG?
Nothing much on my end, but I'm excited to chat with you about SummerSlam in a few weeks right here on the Juice Box. So always is a pleasure to be on here, and thanks for having me.
As always, it's been a while, but it's nice to have you back. At Josh Isenberg 4 on Twitter, at Juicy Steen on Twitter. Live tweeting Saturday Night's Main Event coming up from Madison Square Garden. For Josh, I am Juice, and we'll see you guys next time for another edition of The Juice Box.
That was The Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to The Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.